Okay then, so this is Crash Bandicoot Warped, the third game in this series, and it's absolutely brilliant. I've never played this before. I'm really late to the party on it, and hopefully I'll be able to show you some things now so that you won't be late to it as well. Okay then, so the plot of Warped is fairly straightforward. Dr. Cortex is once again up to his usual crappy tricks, and Crash and his girlfriend are basically there to save the world, and that largely traverses going through different worlds, which you can see here, and they're all typically themed around something, although some of the levels do interject along with each other, so you might see something from one stage being carried over into a later one, particularly the music. But the presentation on this is immense. This was like Naughty Dog's third Crash Bandicoot game and the last one that they personally made, and the level of polish, the level of detail is just absolutely brilliant, and I'm going to show you some of that now. So let's take a look at an actual in-game level. I'll just look at the animation as well. This is a very, very funny game, I'll tell you that for nothing. Very, very amusing. Okay, so here's one of the levels, and on this one you get to ride a little cute tiger. So I've already completed this, as you can see that it's now on a time trial. But it's very, very much about Crash Bandicoot. So you're avoiding enemies, you're jumping over gaps, and you're just having a fun old time taking everything out. So on this particular one, you need to stay on your tiger as long as possible, because if you fall off it, you have to restart. But you can get an idea here of just how impressive the visuals in the game look. One other thing to obviously remember is that as well as levels where you ran into the screen, you also got levels where you could run into the screen or run from the screen. I'm getting confused, so it's best that we take a look at one of those and I can explain myself better. Okay then, so here's a level where you're basically running into the screen. And eventually you're going to get chased by, well, look at that, a big Triceratops. So these stages have always been tricky in the Crash games because you don't have as much time to react. And this one is no different. They can be a real pain in the ass. Luckily, as the game progresses, things do get easier for returns to stages. So as you can see here, I've picked up a double jump, which is making traversing the stage a little trickier than easier than it otherwise would be. Sorry. Again, the graphics on this are phenomenally good. It's using one of the high-res modes of the PlayStation. I don't think it's full 480i. My cousin seems to think it's slightly lower than that, but it's a big step up over the 240p, and it just looks really, really lovely. Absolutely beautiful. Another cool thing about the Crash Bandicoot games is that as the series progressed, you didn't have to rely on simply running through stages, and Naughty Dog started to pack quite a lot of variety into the game, as we'll take a look at now. Okay then, so this is one of the many minigame style levels that are in Crash Bandicoot Warped, and it's basically a race. So you obviously have to come first, and you have to basically pick up as many crates as possible. So that's easier said than done, and one of the things about a lot of these stages is that while they're relatively easy to complete, as in you can typically go through them in a few minutes, if you really want to master them, i.e. get all the crates, that's going to take some doing. So there's quite a lot of longevity to this game. While I have been basically breezing through it, as it were, I'm really keen on basically going back to the game and trying to up my high scores and basically retrieve all those items, because I'm sure something cool probably happens when you collect them all. Oh, and I crashed. So that's probably a good stage to show you one of the levels. If you come first in this particular race, you'll get a crystal, and there's a crystal in each stage of the game, and you ideally want to pick up as many of those as you can. So if you need a further proof of the ingenuity of Naughty Dog, take a look at this level. You're basically flying around and you want to take down as many of these airships as possible. There's 7 in this one. They take up a little bit of firing and you've got to take out the other biplanes as you're flying around. And that's it really. It's a lot of fun. I'm not sure how many of these levels crop up. This is the only one I've seen so far, and this is on the 4th world. But again, it just highlights how much Naughty Dog wanted to cram into this game. They really wanted to ensure that you were getting good value for your money. And you know, I only paid a tenner for this, and I think it's fantastic value. I can only imagine that people would have been quite pleased if they picked this up full price back in the day. You can only take a certain amount of damage before you inevitably crash and have to start over. But as you can see, there's a little balloon up there which I can basically shoot down and it will fill up my energy bar. Warped also sees you taken to the water, and you have these really cool little jet bike races. They can be a little tricky because the physics and the controls aren't the greatest, but again, they're a lot of fun. They're very, very polished for the most part, and it simply highlights just how much variety there is to the game. And I'm finding it very hard to drive and ride at the same time. So let's see what we can do. There's lots of hazards. It's got some quite nice physical water effects as you're basically getting knocked around. It's granted no wave race on the N64, but you know, this is a mini game in a bigger game. So you can probably forgive Naughty Dog for basically not making this be amazing. But it is a lot of fun. Oh, now if you get hit by this pirate, he basically knocks you to the ground and then whacks you under the water with his oar. It's just one of the funny death animations that the Crash Bandicoot games have, and this one in particular excels at. But Crash Bandicoot Warped doesn't just take you above the water, you also get to go below it as well, in these rather little cool levels where you've got your aqua lung, you're in deep sea mode, and you're just trying to, again, smash as many crates as you can while avoiding the many underwater denizens. Denizens. Again, look how amazing this game looks. It's one of the things that I'm finding with Late to the Party is I'm playing games like this and I'm just thinking, how on earth have you waited so long to experience it? It's I really feel like I've lost out a lot on the PlayStation library, so hopefully I'll be able to rectify that going forward. I've picked up quite a few games, and hopefully I'll be able to share them with you in later videos. But you know, if they're all up to the standards of Crash Bandicoot Warped, I am going to have a hell of a lot of fun times ahead of me. And hopefully if you're watching the videos, you all will too. Of course, no platform game worth its salt would be anything without some good bosses to battle, and you'll find that the ones in Crash Bandicoot Warped are pretty cool. Many of them return from earlier games, and they've all got fairly challenging attack patterns to basically deal with, as we'll see here. Obviously, if you've played any sort of platformer, or most Nintendo games for that matter, you'll understand that these games have the rule of 3, i.e. you've got to basically hit the enemy 3 times before you can move on to the next level. So the bosses in Crash Bandicoot Warped aren't the most challenging, but they do have attack patterns that can take you a little while to work out. This is a Dingo Doll, and it did take me a little bit of time before I was able to kill him. That probably says more about me though than it does about the game. So you want to avoid those fireballs. Then you basically want to get him to fire at you so that he'll hopefully clear all of this. And once he clears enough of it, you can basically try and attack him. And then you want to stay clear, watch out for his explosion, and try the whole thing again. But obviously this time he's that little bit more trickier. And all the bosses are basically largely in this style.
Yo, get into it!
Speaking of bosses, I've only encountered 3 so far, but this is arguably my favourite. He's obviously some sort of time genius, and it's a really fun boss fight. So basically you want to avoid this. He's then going to chuck these at you, like so. He's then going to force you to jump towards him, and then the whole thing basically starts over. And again, like I said, you've got 3 attempts to do this, but it gets a little tricky with each one. It's just, yeah, really fun fight, this one. I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope the later bosses prove to be just as challenging. It actually took me a little while to do them, largely because my reactions are simply terrible. But yeah, this is Entropy, and he's definitely one of my favourite mares that I've fought so far. I'll be interested to know how the bosses in the earlier games compare to this one. So let me know in the comments if you do know. So one thing I have noticed with Warped, and I've got no idea if the earlier games do this, but it does start to introduce alternate routes for a level. As you can see here, you can either go down there, which is a bit more challenging because the jumps are trickier, and you have to make use of the new spin dash move that you've picked up, or you can basically go down this one instead. Again, this is the only actual route I've discovered so far, so I don't know if there are more of them in the game, but it's a nice touch, and it just basically feels like there's that little bit more variety and that little bit more reason to basically return and, you know, see what you can discover. So you may have seen that I had a mask with me then. I think that's Oonga Boonga. And one of the things that is cool, which the later Nintendo games start copying, is that if you are absolutely terrible at Crash Bandicoot Warped, I mean really absolutely naff at the game, this guy, he'll basically turn up earlier on, so you have a little extra help. One of the other things I've noticed as well, which is pretty cool, is that checkpoints will appear as well, making it a little bit easier if you keep on down in the same place that you normally would. The platforming does get a little tricky, and I'm dead. And you know, this is about a third of the way into the game. So, you know, I'm just not very good at it. But hopefully this video has given you a good idea of what to expect from Crash Bandicoot Warped. I'm really surprised by it. I wasn't super surprised to find it to be as polished as it was, because, you know, this is Naughty Dog at the end of the day, and, you know, they're one of Sony's first party developers now, and they wouldn't have got to that position without knowing how to make great games. I have been surprised at how much fun I found Crash Bandicoot Warped to be, though. It really is good. So what I'd recommend is, if you don't want to buy the PlayStation version, you can obviously get the Switch remake now. Obviously I'm a purist, so I'd rather have the original, but if you want this version along with the other 2 games, then the Insanity Collection might be a better idea for you. Avoid those traps. There's all these different things to take into account, like you got to watch out that you don't get crushed by these blocks. It's just, yeah, I just really like this game. There's just a lot of variety to it. It's a lot of fun, and I'm quite upset that it's taken me this long to discover it. So this is RetroGamerDaz. This is late to the party, and I've been playing Crash Bandicoot Warped. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and do make sure that you tell me about the game in the comments, because I do try and reply to everyone that posts, and it's just a bit of fun to share with the community. So I'll see you again for my next video, which will be on Saturday, and that of course is a Shmup Saturday. So make sure you take part in the poll that will be on Twitter at RetroGamer_Daz. Take care everyone, I'll see you soon. Bye!